Hi everyone, my name is Javi and I can draw, and today I won't be drawing anything at all. Why is that? Well, let me explain. Today is the first video on my picture book project. You know, all the stuff that I've been talking about the last few videos while I stalled while I filmed this video? Well, this is happening today. It starts right now. And I will be doing a picture book and I will be showing you every step of the way. Now, why won't I be drawing anything? Well, that's because first I have to get the story right. I have to get what I will be drawing right. So before anything else, before I start drawing, I have to get the storytelling basics right, and that is what I'm going to do today. Well, first of all, I'm going to suggest that you don't actually watch this video, except when I tell you to look at the screen. You can just listen to it while you do something else, like, well, preferably drawing. Now that I got that out of the way, I want to tell you that, well, what I'm going to do right now is tell you what the story that I want to tell is about. If you haven't seen the last video, I suggest you stay and listen to it. If you actually have seen the last video, I suggest you skip it to this mark. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be there. So you can just skip the main story of what the... So you can just skip it and go to the interesting new part. Now listen. This is the story about a boy. He often gets pranked by his big sister, and at the beginning of the book, he and his friends get pranked by the big sister and her friends once again. He and his friends get tired of it, so they decide to prank her and her friends back. So they build this costume of a monster that they get inside so they can scare them. So they start scaring the other girls and other people in the town just for fun. Soon everyone gets scared of them and they don't want to be pranked, so they're constantly scared of maybe if they turn on a corner they will get pranked or not. And the kids actually like it, they feed on this fear. But before they can make the final prank to the kid's sister, the monster actually comes alive. Eventually they defeat the monster and they learn that emotions and ideas can take a life of their own if they're left unchecked. So they decide to put all that energy to, instead of causing fear, to bring joy to the people. So first, knowledge. Let's get our knowledge right. Well, first, research. Link to all the tutorials are on the description of this video. Now I'm going to show you all the research I've done and where I got all this knowledge that I'm going to show you today from. Links are going to be on the description down below, and there's also going to be a link to a Pinterest board where there are going to be other tutorials and other resources that I'm not going to mention on this video, but is still found useful. Now I'm going to read a lot what's on my screen because I want to get this right, so bear with me. The first thing I want to tell you about is something that is called the snowflake method. The author of this method suggests that you condense everything that you want to put on the book on just one sentence, and from there start developing it into something bigger and we know with more details and nuance. The sentence for the book would be the following. A boy and his friends try to get back at his sister for pranking them. It goes wrong. I think that it just condensed pretty well what I want to tell, because the part where everything goes wrong is just very important for me. Now that I have that, well, let's make it grow a little bit more. There's this other article by Tommy Tomlinson, yeah, that's his name, that I found, that it talks about three main elements of a story: a character, a hurdle, and a pot of gold. What he says is that a story is the journey of this character you care about confronting and dealing with this obstacle to reach this pot of gold. So if I have to apply that to my story, the character will be the kid, the hurdle will be that he wants to get revenge on his sister, and the pot of gold would be pranking her. Now in this particular case, the pot of gold is a negative emotion and it has consequences, so since there is going to be a lesson to be learned, the pot of gold, you know, is in this case is the revenge, but that's not where the story is going to end. This article also tells you to ask yourself two questions. The first one is, what is the story about? Which, you know, we've been through that. But the second one is, what is the story really about? Like, why is the reason that you're telling this story? Let me just read from the article. What is the universal meaning that someone should draw from the story? What is the lesson? Now, I wrote this down and I wanted to tell you is that for me, now in my particular case, what the story really is about letting yourself not being driven by fear. And if you let that fear grow, it will eventually become something more powerful than you and take a life of its own. So with what I know, I thought about splitting the story in the typical 3 arc structure, that is introduction, conflict, and resolution. In the particular case of my story, it would be that the intro is that the kids get scared by the girls. They decide to get revenge by building a monster costume and scare the girls. The conflict would be that they start scaring the townsfolk as practice and get too carried away. Before they can scare one of the boys' sister, the monster takes life of its own and goes after her and after them. The resolution would be that the father of the kids saves them and explains the power of ideas and emotions, and he suggests that they use their energy on something positive, so they create this fairy instead of monster to bring joy to the townsfolk together with the girls. I'm starting to like how that sounds. Now I want to move on to another article, it is actually a PowerPoint presentation by Emma Coates. She used to work for Pixar and she makes something that it is commonly known as Pixar's 22 rules of storytelling. But there is one special rule that I want to focus on, and that is rule number 4. It says, once upon a time there was a blank space, every day blank space, one day blank space, because of that blank space, because of that blank space, until finally blank space. So I filled it out. And for my story, well, it says, so here's what I got. Once upon a time there was a boy. Every day he shared his life with his family, including his sister. One day his sister and her friends scared the boy and his friends. Because of that, the boy and his friends planned their revenge. Because of that, the monster they created for their revenge take a life of its own, until finally the monster is defeated and they use their energies to bring joy instead of fear. There are some more exercises like this that I linked. I want you to go to the link below and check them out if you want to work on a story of your own. But this is going to be it for me because I don't want to bore you too much, and I have to go to the actual main part where I have information written that I'm actually going to use and not these exercises. But first I want to tell you about some conclusions that I got from these exercises. The first one is this one that I didn't plan, but I thought that it would be necessary, and that is that the prank that the book opens with can't be the first the main character has endured. Like, his sister has to prank him a lot, and this prank, the one at the beginning of the book, has to be like a prank that the straw that breaks the camel back, that's how you say it, and where he says, enough, I want to get back at her. And one of the other conclusions that I got is that progressively as the book moves along, the people in the town and every other character that is not the main characters had to get increasingly more scared of being pranked or scared by these kids, as they're scaring everyone that they see, basically. The reason why I'm thinking this is because the fear that brings the monster to life has to be also from his victims. Their own fear of being pranked and scared has to be so powerful that it has to be, something that is collective, and that's what brings it to life. But after these two conclusions, I also have a few questions that I want to ask myself as I develop the book. The first one is, well, should I foreshadow that the monster is going to come to life? And how would I do that? Because I don't want to waste a whole page doing that, like foreshadowing, because I'm not going to be doing that many pages. So maybe I have to do it through text, but I had to actually think about that. The second question that I have is, how should I show that the kids are getting more driven by revenge? Because the more they scare, the more they like it. So, they had to turn into like these little evil creatures that they don't lose their humanity, but you can tell that they're just becoming a little bit more evil. So, and if so, I have to show, whenever the kids are in the monster costume, I have to be able to show the kids' faces. Because then again, I don't want to waste pages showing the kids going evil or something. And the other question that I have is, how am I going to show that the townsfolk are getting increasingly scared? How can I show that the town is like a little bit more sad or paranoid because these kids are scaring everyone? But I guess that those questions I'm going to have to leave them for later, at least not on this phase. Maybe the composition can help me, maybe the writing can actually lend a hand, but the writing is something that is going to happen just later, because I want it to be this going back and forth between the drawing and the writing. I want to see how much of the drawing can tell the story and how less of the writing I can use. But now comes the hard part, and that is to decide what illustration is going to go on each page. What I did is like, well, there's this thing called the Idiot Proof Picture Book Dummy. And I'm going to use it as a template. Picture books usually have the same amount of pages. That is, to keep it as a standard for, for budget and prices and costs and whatever reason. So I'm going to use this template that kind of follows that rule. This dummy divides the book in around 16 spreads. They can be 16 illustrations, but maybe I can just do one thing on one page and another thing on the other one. But still, like, at the beginning I just want to consider them like 16 illustrations that I'm going to do to tell this story. Now, I started listing what each illustration would be, and this part is going to be a little bit boring because it's just a list of illustrations that I'm going to make. But, this is like the most important part, because these 16 images is what I'm going to be working on for the next year. So let's go. The first one is going to be like setting a campfire in a forest close to the town. You can see the town. The girls are telling their scary story to the kids. The second image is the boys getting pranked by the girls. The third one is the boy getting tired of being pranked. He gets his friends into his plan, the revenge plan. The fourth is going to be the kids in a garage or workshop working on building this monster that they're going to use to scare people. The fifth is like a silly, innocent, playful scare or prank to one of the girls. The next one is going to be just a little bit mean or a little bit more violent. Not violent as in like hitting something, but a little more like with more energy or power or drive. The seventh image would be just the boys just scaring everyone. And the eighth would be more like a pranking montage with a lot of little pranks and faces and reactions, which, maybe that's what I'm going to use to make the townsfolk people look more scared. And in the end of that illustration, maybe by text or I don't know how, they decide that they're going to scare the boy's sister, the last victim, the next day. The ninth image is of the town at night, empty, like people are scared of going outside because they don't want to be pranked or scared. And the sister of the boy is walking home and he sees the monster on the street. The 10th image is going to be the girl running from the monster, like hiding, and the girl is thinking like, oh, I know that these kids are trying to prank me, just wait till I tell dad. So she starts running to the house, and when she gets to the house, and I know this is like one of the most complicated pages because the girl is running from the monster as she needs to get to the house. And when she gets to the house, she is going to see that the kids are in the house and they're not the monster, they're not wearing the costume. And that is going to be one, like, that's the page that has kind of like the twist. Or maybe I just have to divide all these sections between the 9th and the 10th. Okay, I'm just thinking, let's keep going. The 11th page is going to be the monster attacking inside the house. The 12th page is going to be the father of the kids punching the monster down. The 13th page is going to be the father explaining the kids about the dangers of feeding fear. 14th is going to be the boys and girls working together on something that brings joy. On the 15th image is going to be like this Minotaur fairy thing that they built, bringing joy to people, like throwing flowers or candy or something like that. And the 16th image would be like all the kids sleeping together in this giant bed and the Minotaur fairy just covering them as they fall asleep. It's going to be complicated, but it's going to be fun. So that's going to be it for today. Check out this end screen. Do you like it? It looks good. All the resources once again are on the link below. Next to me should be the next video or something like that. I still haven't decided. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. The first one of a new batch. I'm so excited! And I'm so excited that I finally did this because I was a little bit nervous. Never mind. My name is Javi and I can draw. And I'll see you on the next week. Bye!